Hello everybody, Jake here and welcome to the hobby. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why Pokemon cards like to spike in value and how does that affect you as a collector, whether you own this card or not. So here's an example of a card that has recently spiked in value. Everyone knows it. It's the Stained Glass Bird Trio. Super iconic card, and this card recently spiked a lot in value. Why does that occur? Because I've been seeing a lot of posts on Pokemon Cards subreddit over the past couple of months, and you might have seen these too, talking about how this $200 card is now $500, this $100 card is now $400. These constant posts of people talking about why they don't understand why certain cards are now way more expensive when nothing has really changed about these cards, and their question is extremely fair. I'm not taking a jab at these people. They have a very strong question here, which is, how does a Pokemon card that used to be $50 just a couple of months ago now be worth hundreds of dollars more? That doesn't make rational sense, right? So we're going to be talking about that. Why does that occur? In the world of collectibles like to spike in value. By their very nature as collectibles like to spike in value. And the reason why collectibles spike in value compared to other asset classes like stocks, equity, and real estate, because in the world of stocks and equity, you normally see stuff slowly climbing at around 7 to 10% a year, right? That's normal growth. You sort of see normal steady growth. And that's not what you see in the world of collectibles. In the world of Pokemon cards, things can stay flat for 3 or 4 years in a row and suddenly spike up 800% in the period of 2 weeks. All the activity in collectibles can happen very, very rapidly. And the big reason why that occurs is because they are extremely inefficient. Collectibles, by their very nature, are extremely inefficient at meeting supply and demand. Supply and demand in the world of collectibles just never meet well. If you collected anything before, whether it be Labubus or Pokemon cards or anything else, sneakers, things just don't tend to fit perfectly. We wish things would just always be perfect and supply always meets demand, but it just doesn't work that way because people have to sort of predict how much is going to actually be sold. And it's really hard to make those predictions. So how does a card like this spike? The big reason why cards spike is because they are extremely inefficient. The collectibles market is extremely inefficient at meeting supply and demand. What that pretty much means is as this card is climbing up in value, and it's climbing up very, very rapidly, you would expect people who are willing to sell it at $65, $70, $80, $90 to put their cards up for sale on the market. Even if they wanted to put those cards up for sale, the market is inefficient. It takes time for people to post their listings. I have multiple copies of the Stained Glass Bird Trio, and you bet I'm willing to sell this card at $125 raw. That's actually a great price. I would love to sell this card, but I have to go into my closet, find where I left all my copies of Stained Glass Birds, take photos of them, list them online, and sell them, and that's a lot of hassle for me. And I haven't done that yet. If I could immediately convert my copy of the Stained Glass Bird Trio into $125, I probably would. But because there are inefficiency in the market, because there's barriers for me to immediately make that transaction, those barriers cause the prices on these cards to spike, especially as cards are climbing, because on the exact opposite end, if you're someone that's buying this card and you're seeing it climb every single day, oh my goodness, this card was $75, and the very next day it's $80. It climbed $5 in the course of a single day, and the very next day it's $5 more expensive, and the next day it's $5 more expensive. You're going to pick up this card immediately because you expect it to be more expensive the next day. Investor expectations on where the price is going next is a huge determination of whether they buy the card or not. Demand is super fluid. People talk about, oh, there's 50,000 people that want this card, but that amount of people that want this card can change dramatically depending on whether a card is going up in value. Let's throw you guys another example, which is the Greninja Star card. Same exact scenario is currently occurring with this card, which is that it's spiking rapidly. And when it's climbing up rapidly, I have a bunch of copies of these Greninja Star card, but I simply haven't listed any for sale because I have to find my stack of Greninja Star card again somewhere in my closet, take them out, and list them. Shout out to my local card shop, 888 Collectibles, because they actually found their box of Greninja Star card. They have a massive stack of these cards. They've been slowly selling these cards. It wasn't like they were holding on to these cards, but they just happen to have a bunch because at any given day, they're only showing off one copy of it for sale inside of their shop. A card shop is never going to have 500 copies of Greninja Star card on their display at any given time. Even if they have 500 in the back, they may only have one or two inside of their showcase. So this is a great example of another card where I would love to sell this card at $25 because I don't think it's worth $25, but I haven't made that sale because I haven't listed these cards yet. The market is very inefficient. So that's a big reason why these cards like to spike in value. If this card is $9 today and it's $10 the next day and it's $11 the next day and $12, actually it jumped $5 in a single day. So in a single day, it went from being a $12 card to being like a $17 card. That's absolutely insane. And it's climbing so quickly over the course of just a single week. People are going to list these for sale. Like if you can find these for sale, people are going to list more. The market is just super inefficient. And so it causes these really dramatic spikes rather than being able to really smooth things out and slowly climb over time. And you can see this card's already seen its crash. It's already happening right now where the Greninja Star climbed rapidly and everyone who has multiple copies of this card is immediately trying to dump them onto the market if they can. Like I said, I have copies of it, but I have to go and find them. So there are more people like me who haven't even heard that this card is expensive. They're sleeping on this card right now. There are people out there that might have 20, 30 copies of this Greninja Star card, and they just haven't listed it on sale yet because they didn't even know that it's has a recent price change. That's how inefficient the market is we don't always have our cards for sale. A lot of cards are simply just not available for sale until something like this occurs, and now you can see that immediate price drop. If you like the data that I'm currently looking at and want to know where it's coming from, it is currently coming from the Collector app. The Collector app is the official market tracking app of the TwicebakedJake channel. I absolutely love Collector. I've been using them for many, many years to track and manage my whole entire collection. If you like to see my whole entire Pokemon card collection, then you can see the whole entire collection by looking at the link down in the description to see my whole entire Pokemon card portfolio, which is every card I have inside of my collection, my official collection. I probably have more cards than this that I simply haven't added to Collector yet, but again, this is super scary. You can see my collection is reaching close to $300,000 in total value, and it's gone up about 100% in the past 6 months. That is not normal at all. If you like to check them out, Collector is a super intuitive tool. They give you latest and greatest market data from all of your latest Pokemon cards. You can add all of your whole entire collection onto the Collector app. Very intuitive, a great way to track your collection, whether you're a brand new collector or someone that is super seasoned in the hobby. Definitely check them out. Hopefully what I said made a little bit of sense for you if you're a brand new collector, especially on how collectibles like to spike. By their very nature as collectibles, they're extremely inefficient, and when there's a major surge in demand, things can move rapidly. And the main reason for the catalyst of a surge in demand for a card, while most cards are all really, really cool, is mainly due to FOMO and value. Is that if a card's $125 today, but you think it's going to be $150 in a week, you have an immediate incentive to pick it up because it's only going to be more expensive down the line. So the wave of hype can really push cards up in value. Here we have ourselves the Pikachu, Captain's Pikachu from Horizon Gems 1. This card is starting to climb in value again as Chinese cards, especially exclusive illustration rares, are starting to see some desirability in the market. And what should you do if you're a collector, whether you own this card or not? So let's talk about that. If you're someone that does not own this card, ask yourself, why do you want it now? And that's a great question to ask because if you didn't want the Greninja Star card when it was $1, why do you want it now because it's $25? What has changed about this card besides its price that makes you want it, right? And I think that's the really important thing is, do you want this card now simply because it's way more expensive? And that's the irrational reason for you to want to pick up this card. And the reason why it's irrational to want to pick up this card at $25, even though it's gone up so much in value, is because if you didn't want this card at $1 when it was way cheaper, then you definitely do not want this card when it's way more expensive. If you didn't want to pick up something when it's $1.50, then you definitely should not want to pick it up when it's $25. If it's only gotten more expensive and it's the exact same purchase, you as a consumer, you as someone who's buying stuff should not want it. So think it over in your head why you're picking up this card at $25, because it'll save you when this card crash, which is what is happening right now. I'm sure there were many people that picked up the Greninja Star card when it was climbing. I'm sure if I look on eBay, I'll see many sold listings of this card going for way over $25, and the market on it is already crashing because the market is simply not efficient. Lots of people have copies of this card, hundreds of copies of them inside of their collection, because there's one inside of every single ETB, and there were many stores opening up hundreds of Celebrations ETBs and just having hundreds of copies of this card inside of their storage or collection for years. And it's going to take them time to add them to the market, and this card will crash. So if you don't have this card inside of your collection, ask yourself why you want to pick up this card, and this will work for just about any card. Now, if you do have this card inside of your collection and you want to consider selling it, then you have to ask yourself the exact opposite, which is, why are you selling this card? Are you selling it simply because it's more expensive, or are you selling it because you no longer want it inside of your collection? There's plenty of cards that I have inside of my collection that if the price is right, absolutely I would sell them. They're not cards that I'm keeping long term, but they're cards that are meaningful to me. I just have cards inside of my collection that I may not have a deeper attachment to, and those are cards that I'm more willing to sell. And so, yes, if the Moltres and Zapdos Articuno reaches an optimal price point that I think it's overpriced, then it might make sense for me to sell off this card. And usually when I sell off a card, it doesn't mean I'm simply pocketing the cash. It usually means I'm going to take that money and put it into other cards. What that simply means is, hey, if this card is $125, there may be a bunch of other cards that are currently going for $100 or less that I think are way cooler or underrated, and I may want to pick those up. Usually when I sell a card, it usually means, hey, I think this card may be a little bit overpriced or overrated right now, and I'm usually using the sales to convert that into other cards. So it's really almost like a trade at the end of the day, where cash is the medium in the middle. At the end of the day, it's really just a trade where I'm simply moving value inside of my collection from one piece to another piece. Very common in the world of collectibles. So ask yourself, if you have this card, why do you want to sell it now? And it's most likely because it's reached a price point where you disagree with the price, right? If you're someone that owns a bunch of copies of the Greninja Star card and you disagree with the market being at $25, then it makes total sense for you to sell it because you think it's worth less. That's the main reason. Now, if you don't have the card, ask yourself, why don't you have the card? And did you wanted it in the first place? Because it will save you a lot of heartache down the line once the card crashed. Thank you so much for watching. Hope this has been insightful on why collectibles like to spike in value and the cycle of spikes and market corrections after the words. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to respond to you. Later, guys.